Okay, so I am here with my VIP, Alicia. Alicia just finished 6 months. We're our last week. And so what is it now? So we're down a total of 186 down to 151. So 35 pounds.
Yep.
35 pounds, huh?
Feeling
And
good.
it hasn't been a straight shot.
No.
We've had some ups, we've had some downs.
Yep. I started off with a foodie fest.
Yeah, that was our first week. Oh, by the way, I'm going to a food festival.
Yes. Then we hit Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve. We went to Maui for a week.
Yeah. Maui for a week, all these things. And each one of those, I think and I'm going to do a screen share here. I think what you realize is, we'll look at your weigh-in graph here. It's like, okay, so here we are, we're 6 months later and you're down 35 freaking pounds of body fat, and you're a small person to begin with, so that's incredibly noticeable and significant. But I think one big takeaway that people don't realize is just, look at this. First week, we went from 181 back up 5 pounds, right?
Foodie fest.
We had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had at least 4 different occasions where you jumped 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think one of the problems, and I want to pass this to you, but like most people would do that and they would just be like, screw it. Like, it's not working. I can't, it's not, obviously, like I'm doing something wrong, right?
Well, I mean, you kept telling us, you will see the spike if you hit high sodium, if you're eating inflammatory stuff, if you're not drinking enough water, and every single time that was what happened. And we tracked everything.
Yep.
Even if it was a terrible weekend, we tried to put in everything that we could. Yes, I had a coconut shrimp. Yes, I had, a bag of, I don't know, delicious, yummy, with those little Brazilian cheese balls or something, whatever it was, we owned it. Yes, I had
good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah,
Good,
3
bad,
tequila shots. Yes, I had those. And we entered it, and then you see the result of it, and you're like, crap, okay, I can't do that and still keep on my downward slope here. And every single time you just see an automatic, and I would spike 2 days after, and my boyfriend would spike 1 day after.
Yeah.
And so we could see the pattern, and it was really interesting because it was like eating the same things, and his metabolism is faster. So he would spike first, and then I would spike, and then it would take us 5 days to get back to where we were right before that.
And then that's just a lesson in sticking with it and not getting emotional about seeing scale go up, but just looking at it as purely data. Okay.
Yeah.
This is informing me of the direct cause and effect of my choice. What we worked on a lot is, you're an adult and this needs to be sustainable. And if you choose to, consume a few hundred of your calories through, going out to eat or having a few drinks or dessert or like whatever you choose, that's okay. Just understand that there's going to be a weight spike, and don't tie your success to that momentary spike in water weight. You didn't put on 5 pounds of body fat in 3 days, right? You'd have to be like at an eating contest for a week straight. But when we have some high sodium food, we have a couple of drinks, we get inflamed and we shoot up a few pounds. And it's just that exposure therapy enough times for us to realize that, like, it's going to happen. You're still burning fat. It's being masked momentarily by water weight, right? But it can sneak up on us sometimes. Now, to your credit, you crushed it. And like you said, you tracked everything. Probably one of the best clients I've ever had, as far as just the degree that you track your data, and then the results speak for themselves. I mean, absolutely transformed. We went from 183 to 151. Hope you don't mind.
186.
186. So, I mean, absolute transformation here. I mean,
I'm only 5'2", so 186 was like.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely amazing transformation. And truly, I just think that it was because of the consistency that you tracked your data, it wasn't about being perfect. It never is. It was about like you showing up every day, logging your shit, taking your progress photos, hopping on the scale, following the plan, surrendering your belief system, hitting the trust button, and now here we are, right? I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing like a little bit about like what was going on before this and what got you to that point, because you weren't always at 186. What got you to that point? What's happening in your life that got you there?
I was just looking at this the other day. So from 2014, 2014, I was 137. And fast forward, not even 9 months later in 2015, at the end of 2015, I was 158. So I jumped 20 pounds in less than a year. And I was like, okay, what was I doing that year? Oh, yeah. I was in a $24 million construction project that I was in charge of. So I was working insane hours. I was at work until 9, 10 every night. I would just go and eat whatever I could find, whatever restaurant was open at 10. And that's basically all I was eating and drinking a ton. And I was not exercising. I was not taking care of myself. I was super stressed out. And then over the next like 6 years, I was done with the construction project because I had just let it.
Yeah, you just had that inertia.
I just sort of gained like 5 pounds a year up until this year or last year. And I looked at a photo of myself and I was like, I don't even recognize that person. I couldn't find myself for a second in the photo that I knew I was in. And that's when I was like, all right, this is enough.
Now you were a referral from another client who,
Yeah.
Lisa, who we got down 30 pounds as well. So you had a little bit of like social proof that you just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like we were strangers and you just were like, whoa, who's this weight loss coach on Instagram? But you actually knew. So that helped. But
Yeah.
still, like,
Yeah.
no doubt you and Ken signed up for 6 months with me right off the bat. Were you nervous about that? Were you hesitant? Or what was your feeling about changing your lifestyle and about like being vulnerable to a stranger and like committing to this? How was that process for you?
I mean, I having you work with Lisa, who I've known for years and years and years, and she is like one of my old kind of partier friends in Venice, I would say. And her and I used to drink a lot together, and I know she works her ass off at a really corporate high stress job. So I was like, if she can do this program and lose that much, I know we can do it. And Ken and I are always good if we are a team in something.
Yeah.
But smoking 5 years ago together, and we had been talking about losing weight for so long, and we hadn't actually made any significant action towards that. And so when I suggested this, he's like, yeah, let's do it. There was just no, it was like,
Okay, cool.
If we can't do it, we needed someone to just like pull us kicking and screaming into doing the action, being accountable, and like having you to check in with us every week. And also just kind of like sort of pep talking us with the, you're going to have people that challenge this new version of you. That was really helpful at the beginning because we did have a lot of surprises about who in our immediate scope was not as supportive as we thought that they would be. And now, funny enough, they have like seen our progress and they're already making significant changes in their health and their normal rituals because of what they've seen us doing.
I heard a long time ago, one of the quotes that stuck with me was like, first they make fun of you and then they ask you for advice. Yep. In my life, I've always been a little bit of an outcast, and I've always been the guy that was doing something different, and I was always made fun of. And then now as an adult, I can't tell you how many people from high school and from my past are now either current or former clients of mine.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's like we have you've created an identity for yourself, and they have an idea of who you are. And when you change your identity, you're basically changing the social contract that you had with this person and what they can expect from you. And so there's always going to be that like disjarring moment where they have to like reacclimate. And sometimes that can manifest itself in not being supportive or challenging your resolve to see how serious you are, trying to poke holes in your commitment. But then eventually it becomes a new normal, and eventually it becomes your new identity. And the priorities that you have based off of that new identity are too powerful for anyone to challenge now. And then they're just like, well, okay, fine. So what is this thing you're doing? How did you do it? Can you help me?
Yeah, and we had a lot of people offer us like unsolicited help advice or like the diet that worked for them. And we're like, oh yeah, thanks. But clearly this is working.
Yeah, it's like you go to like a person who owns, 100 rental properties, and then someone's like, well, I just got one and here's how I did it. It's like,
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. If I
Thanks,
asked
buddy.
you your advice.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, it was great to get positive reinforcement
yes.
from most everyone around us. It was every time we would see someone that we haven't seen for a while, they're like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, it's a real transformation. I mean, it is like, you got to remember, like, I want to do your weigh-in graph one more time on the screen. I mean, you got to remember, like, this is something that, like, you got to realize that less than 5%, sub 5% of the population can ever achieve, right? This isn't something like a 6-week challenge where you go and lose 10 pounds because you just stop eating carbohydrates or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or it's not like the hard 75 where I do a 75 burpees and run for 75 minutes or whatever the dumb thing is.
Yeah.
This is like, hey, we had 3 square meals a day. We have our protein targets and our calorie targets. People need to understand that you did not crash diet here. We didn't get here by you just starving yourself, right? We didn't.
No.
Like, this is by consistency. This is by accuracy of data, making informed decisions, looking at every single week coming up and making a decision how we're going to approach it. Vacations, family in town, friends for dinner, whatever. And then, like, not beating ourselves up if we aren't perfect, but understanding that, like, it's going to be setbacks. And by simply just having parameters, you are going to stay within a certain range. Like, the worst it got for you, I think, over the last 6 months is maybe 2,200 calories, 2,300 calories. That was as high as you went in 6 months. Maybe at that point in time, we were only at like 1,500. And so you're like, oh my God, I'm like, I totally blew it. Oh my God. So you were 25% over. But if we hadn't had that 1,500 calorie parameter, you would have been, maybe some days were 35, maybe some days were 1,000, because they're just all over the place. Like, that's the problem. So by simply just setting a target, even if you're wildly off, it still is creating enough of a boundary to where even your worst time, we're only 20% off.
Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to like 120% off, which would have happened to most people normally throughout the course of a week, because they don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and getting right back on the program, like, okay, that was a little crazy weekend. Like, let's refocus, and we already know what we have to do. We just got to do it. And it's not, it wasn't easy putting the work in and meal planning. I mean, it was pretty annoying sometimes, but we just sort of,
hey, you know what though?
We dealt with it. We wanted it. We were thirsty.
Yeah.
So we
you know
did
what
the
though?
work.
Like, pick your fucking hard, right? It's hard to track your food and to hop on the scale. And it's also hard to be overweight and insecure and like worried that you might have health issues in the future. Choose your hard, right? And so I'm a big believer, like, anything worth doing in life takes time and effort. And when you learn how to work for it, you learn how to keep it. Right? Easy come, easy go. I can't, it's one of those things. It's just one of those lessons we all have to learn many, many times. Okay, I'm going to kill the recording. You and I are going to keep chatting afterwards, but I really appreciate you jumping on here. And I just want to say it publicly for the world to know just how much of a delight you were, you and Ken. I mean, if I could have every client like you guys, I'd just be just the happiest fitness coach in the world. But really good stuff. Can't express how proud I am of you guys and all your effort.
Thank you. It's been wonderful, and we're still gonna bug you, so don't worry.
Hope so. Okay, I'm gonna stop this.